So what do you think? Can someone, a woman who has a tendency for a third dirty show, if you don't know what it means, just stick with me, combined with an extreme fear of commitment, pretty much the same as any bachelor out there, turn into an emotionally stable, trusting and waiting on God for their relationship sort of person? Hello everyone, Diana here, talking about ideas and spiritual experiences that have literally changed my life and yes, managed to transform me into someone I barely recognize. What have you done with Diana? Well, the answer to the question is yes, that weird, radical evolution is possible. And I should know as it is my own experience. So by now I think you know my main question. Yes, you do. Does your spiritual worldview deeply influence your life? Specifically, your romantic choices. Who and how you date, marry, how you think about love. This is a short video series about how my Christian worldview changed me, my thinking about relationships in general. The first 3 videos, my emotions, my body, my diet, even the last 2 videos, and of course my romantic life. This is the toughest one so far, so I hope I will make it till the end. So what is a third artichoke? Literally translated as artichoke heart, it is used to describe someone who falls in love easily and frequently. Basically, the more leaves in that artichoke, the more different romantic interests in that heart of yours. Got it? My heart had a few leaves too back in my 20s, and my romantic interests could change real fast. In fact, it was even easier to fall out of love from what I remember. But more importantly, and certainly more relevant to my experience, can a woman's phobia of commitment be as strong as a man's? I'm afraid I'm a living proof it can. In fact, I managed to prove it to many others when I decided that being in love was definitely not enough. Even sharing the same values with my fiancé was not enough, so I cancelled my own wedding a little less than a month before, creating waves of shock literally among family members, friends, relatives, and spending most of the time that should have been our honeymoon returning gifts to people. One last traumatizing detail from that experience was a bread box, which I couldn't send back because the donor was anonymous. Those little details. I still remember bits of the menu, the fact that it was supposed to happen in a beautiful mountain village somewhere in the south of France, and that I pissed off pretty much everyone and cried a lot afterwards, partially because of rejection. Ironic, right? There's a verse in the Bible about the human heart that describes well what I mean here. But mostly because of my own shock of being so unable to believe in marriage and long-term commitment. And I won't go into more details, this is not the purpose here and I don't have the time, but I'm pretty sure you got an idea of who I used to be. I didn't understand so many things. I was ignorant and naive about life, myself, love, marriage, you name it. But thanks God, He used my intuition to get me out of something I would have regretted my whole life. I was so right to choose not to marry back then. I think Rob Jackson from Focus on the Family said something really mysterious. He said that marriages suffer from many wounds. Power struggles, abusive situations, emotional distance, selfishness, immaturity, and addictions. However, even the seemingly healthy ones often suffer from something far less easily recognized, a profound ignorance of the very nature of marriage itself. Okay, so many books, sermons, spiritual counseling, and some incredible spiritual experiences later, I came to realize why I was indeed right to cancel my marriage. I think I mentioned before, this why is a really important question in my life, basically checking my motives. And I got 2 answers. The first one, there is a huge difference between love and infatuation. And yeah, I know many of you know that, but please bear with me. So the Hollywood myth, you marry somebody, or in some cases just move in with when you get the in love feeling and because you don't want to be alone or when you get too lonely. And if that person happens to be attractive, then you better hurry, right? And that would be the perfect recipe if your aim were to create lots of hardships for yourself and others. The truth is, it is quite hard to differentiate between love and infatuation, and sometimes it's hard to even identify basic lusts, the physical sexual attraction to someone. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, infatuation is an intense but short-lived passion or admiration for someone. It's mostly based on desire or admiration. And yes, it may involve strong feelings, but they won't last. And that is exactly what I felt deep in my heart, without necessarily knowing what I was experiencing. Love, on the other hand, implies a strong connection on the level of mind, soul, and body. It may imply intense feelings, but it is certainly a choice too. The decision to put the we above oneself. It is built on a strong foundation of really taking the time to learn about the other person, of doing our very best to respect him and her entirely, and also act in their very best interest, whatever the cost. In the words of the very wise Rabbi Zacharias, whom I love, by the way, love is a commitment that will be tested in the most vulnerable areas, a commitment that will force you to make some very difficult choices. It is a commitment that demands that you deal with your lust, your greed, your pride, your power, your desire to control, your temper, your patience, and every area of temptation that the Bible really talks about. It demands the quality of commitment that Jesus demonstrates in his relationship to us. And by the way, if you don't truly love yourself, experiencing true love will be really hard, if not impossible to achieve. The second answer, there certainly are some criteria that make a huge difference for the success of any marriage. And things are not random. I think Rick Warren made an excellent summary on the topic when he mentioned 3 such criteria. The first one, spiritual unity. Out of the 4 life dimensions, the spiritual one is by far the most important and life-changing, as the Bible says. So people who don't share the same core beliefs about life cannot really be fit mates. In fact, I really think it's impossible to achieve a real deep soul connection in these cases. The second one, life purpose compatibility. The same author, who is the pastor of Saddleback Church in Orange County, California, and who is here now, said something like that. You're not ready to marry until you know the purpose of your life. God shaped you, gifted you, and called you to a specific mission. The purpose of marriage is to make you more effective at your life purpose. I know this may be the hardest to get, but I personally agree, and that's based on experience. And the third one, emotional health for both people. According to Warren again, an emotionally healthy person has no uncontrolled anger, no addictions, no bitterness, is not selfish, is not greedy, rather is kind, generous, and able to tell the truth. And my personal note to humble. Pride and arrogance in a world where knowledge is infinite is extremely unattractive. And the same would go for cowardice, if you ask me. This one I don't think I can survive. Anyway, the list may never end, but I believe that the fact that we have non-negotiable criteria is really important. And we should stick to them. And finally, it is always a good idea to do some premarital counseling, to talk about all the important aspects we should talk about, like finances, work, kids, conflict. That will save couples from a lot of future crises. To be honest, it still amazes me how many people go into marriage without understanding who they are, what love really is, what marriage is about. And to me, it is almost like, playing the lottery, betting all you have on potentially lucky outcomes. I'm sorry for the analogy, but this is what comes to mind. I'm definitely not intending to offend anyone, but isn't marriage a life-changing decision that deserves deep consideration? Isn't your potential partner deserving of the same? For me, the final and most important question, isn't God deserving of my very best in all areas? I'm aware that all this may sound very countercultural. Some of you may think it's not even possible, but I truly believe that's what it takes to get to a happy, fulfilling marriage. So, if my romantic personality and literally all my beliefs about love, marriage, etc. were so radically changed, I think it's possible for anyone out there. Again, the difference in my case turned out to be, in fact, the difference between knowing about Jesus and deciding to follow him wholeheartedly. Until I made that decision, I was calling myself a Christian, but I was missing out on everything it really meant to be a Christian, and I was not experiencing any real transformation. This is the reason I'm actually doing these videos. I truly believe and I feel compelled to share that Christianity is not a religion, it is a life-transforming relationship. And if they inspire just one person to pursue their best in this area or any other area for that matter, then that makes me really happy. So marriage does not create problems, it rather reveals problems. And I do believe it is 1,000 times worse to be in a bad marriage than to be single. And the more we can deal with it before you get married, the happier, more God-honoring and more fulfilling your marriage is going to be. You will have that deep soul intimacy that is personal, relational, sexual, and spiritual. And if you set yourself high standards, it's also true that it may be very hard and quite far from smooth sailing. But in these current times, it is truly a great achievement to pursue excellence in this specific area. So don't ever settle, but do your part to make sure you're ready to settle with the right person. I would love to hear your stories too. Has your spiritual worldview changed your beliefs about love and marriage? And how? Live intentionally, people, and have a wonderful day, week, and of course, life and marriages.